Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the premier radio networks, including 166 of the best stations in the U.S. and Canada, and XM Channel 166 on Saturday, October 1st, 2011. This is episode 809. Enjoy. Well, hey, how are you? Good to see you. Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And yes, if it's the Tech Guy, it must be time to talk technology. Notice I don't say computers, because technology these days is so much more than computers. Steve Jobs, recently said, the computer is a truck. In the early days of automobiles, this is wrong. He said this, but this is wrong. But he said in the early days of automobiles, they were all trucks. But then as time went by, you had more multi-purpose vehicles, eventually cars for regular people, and the trucks were just specialty items for people who needed to do heavy lifting. And he compared that to the computer. And I think his position was that, and still is probably, that the iPad and tablets like that are really computers for the people, and that computers as we used to know them, desktop and laptop computers, are trucks. They're for specialty items for people who have to do heavy lifting. So whether that's true or not, we do talk about trucks from time to time. But we also talk about tablets, the new phones. I just got a brilliant new phone I'll tell you about in a little bit. We talk about home theater. In fact, Scott Wilkinson's going to join us today. He's got a concert in Santa Cruz tomorrow, which he'll tell you about, big band concert. So our home theater expert joins us today. Let's see. What else is there in the world of technology? Well, you could fill in the gaps. It's changed a little bit since I started this show. When I started doing this show back in 1992, it really was computers, not even the internet. And it was Windows 3 and DOS 5. And now it's computers, the internet, cell phones, which are really the predominant computer platform, the one most of us use most often. And this phone I just got, I was going to tell you about a little bit later. It's more powerful than It's dual 1.2 gigahertz processors, nearly a gig of RAM, 40 gigs of storage on this thing. I mean, this is more powerful than the desktop I had a few years ago. Of course, next week we'll hear about the new iPhone. The rumors are that's going to have a gig of RAM, dual 1.2 gig processors. It's going to be powerful enough that it will be, in fact, a little bit like HAL 9000. The rumors are that computer, the iPhone 5 or whatever Apple calls it, there'll be a feature called Assistant. You'll be able to tell it things, and it will respond to you. You'll be able to say, send a message to Joe, let's meet for breakfast at the diner. And your phone, and I haven't tried it. I don't know anybody who has tried it, but this is the rumor, and a fairly believable rumor. The phone will say, did I get you right? Would you like to make an appointment for breakfast with Joe at the diner? Would you like to send a text to Joe and meet at the diner? Would you like to, is that Joe Lewis or Joe Stevens? Things like that. They'd talk to you. Kind of like Hal did. We'll find out on Tuesday. That's when the iPhone announcement is. And I expect, you never know with Apple, but I expect that they will have it available shortly after the announcement, if not immediately. It's not usually immediately, but the time has been getting shorter and shorter. First iPhone announcement was months before the iPhone came out. Most recent was just a few weeks. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see the iPhone available by, say, October 11th, a week after the announcement. And, of course, big announcement. This is announcement season. Facebook had a big announcement 2 weeks ago. This week, it was Amazon's turn. You probably heard about the new Kindles. Wow. Unbelievable. So there are 3 new Kindle models that will join the existing 2 Kindle models. to make 5 total. And the lowest price is $79. I bought it, and you can't get it right away. I got it the next day. I got it on Friday. I'm calling it the Kindle Lite. It's just the Kindle. And it says it's the regular Kindle without the keyboard. So it's very small, tiny, just a few ounces, but the same size screen as the original Kindle. The only thing really missing from it, besides the keyboard, and I don't miss that, it's got an on-screen keyboard, is there's no audio. So I did used to listen to my audio books on Kindle, and this cheapest Kindle, it's $79, you can't listen to audio. I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for most people. The next step up, the Kindle Touch, does have audio, does also have touch. So instead of pressing buttons to turn pages, you touch the screen. I didn't want to spend the extra money for that. I didn't think I'd need that. Then there is a Kindle keyboard version, which is essentially the old Kindle with the keyboard for those who really need it. Both the Touch and the Kindle, the little Kindle, have on-screen keyboards that you can navigate. And, on a Kindle, you don't, unless you're taking a lot of notes, you don't really do a lot of keyboarding. So for people who need to take notes, then you'd want the keyboard version. But for the rest of us, even a search, you type the first few letters of a book, and it then, pretty quickly gives you the choices of books that might have those first few letters, and it takes no more than 3 or 4 characters to get a book. But that's not a big deal. The Kindle DX is still around. That's really more for textbooks. That's the large form Kindle. And then, of course, the Fire. The Fire. And this is the one that's very interesting because it's $200. Remember when the Kindle first came out, it was $400. This is half that. Less than half the price of an iPad, and it's full color, 7-inch. If you want to know what it looks like, look at the BlackBerry Playbook, because it's exactly the same. No buttons on the front. All software. They're taking Android, but customizing it heavily. It looks more like Apple's Cover Flow, where you kind of swipe through a display of covers, and not just book covers, magazines, movies, TV shows. The search on that searches all of Amazon, so it's also a portal to Amazon's shopping, which is, of course, why they can sell it at $200. Some have said that's a loss of $50. I doubt it. I bet you they're about breaking even. It might be a little loss, but it's a good deal for consumers, and it's a great deal for Amazon because it's just a way to buy more Amazon stuff. What's wrong? What could be wrong with that? So the Fire will be out in about 6 weeks, just in time for Christmas. They'll sell millions of them, I think, for the holidays. And it's a very compelling device. Now, it's not an iPad killer, and it's not even aimed at the iPad, in my opinion. Its first victim will be the Barnes & Noble Nook, which is also color, also Android, and will probably be the same price. I think now it's $250, so they'll drop it a little bit. They have a new Nook coming out next week. That's all right. This is good. Competition's good. I think it will take a small fraction, maybe 20% or 30% of the iPad market, people who just use the iPad for very simple tasks, mostly reading, consuming media. There will be an email client. There will be a browser. In fact, the browser is kind of interesting, too. It's called the Silk browser, and Amazon is doing some interesting tricks to speed it up. Unfortunately, their announcement was more marketing than engineering, so we don't really know exactly what the Silk browser is going to do or what its capabilities are, but it's very interesting. And it should be very quick. It should be a very nice little browser. And I wonder if Amazon, using, by the way, Amazon's own servers to speed browsing up, I wonder if they'll start offering it on other platforms. Somebody in the chat room sent me a link from VentureBeat saying it costs them $210 to build. We don't know how much it costs to build. Everybody's guessing it. The component folks say $188. One of the analysts said $250. iSupply says $210. It's around in there. These are all guesses. Nobody really knows how much this stuff costs. The point being that it'd be hard for Amazon to make much money on it. But they don't need to make much money on the hardware, and that's why they can price it at $200. And that's why, for some people, this is going to be a better choice than the iPad, especially if what you use the iPad for is to watch movies, TV, read books, read magazines. It's going to be an amazing magazine platform. Really Really interesting product. So that kind of was the big news of the week. But what's your big news of the week? Let's talk, huh? 8888 Ask Leo is my phone number. 8888 Ask Leo. We're going to go to the phones right after this. I'm Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, Kyle Benham going to have a lot of fun with the fire. Kindle the Fire. Is there any irony at all in the idea that a thing that's designed to read books is called fire? Maybe not. Dwayne. Sorry, Dwayne in Menifee, California. Hey, Dwayne, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. I've been using Wi-Fi radio. I bought it over at Radio Shack for over a year now, and I enjoy listening to radio stations across the country. And all of a sudden, the last couple of days, KFI radio here in Los Angeles, and then KOA out of Denver, all of a sudden it shows up, internet is down, and I can't connect with them on the internet radio. On my laptop computer, I connect with them, no problem. And I reset the radio, unplugged it, plugged it back in, it finds the Wi-Fi again, still the same error. Strange.
Yeah, I don't think it's a Wi-Fi error. It's probably that those stations are doing something to block internet radio. You know, radio stations often want you to listen on their webpage so that you can see the ads, right? Oh, it's a profit thing. Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for them. I don't know. But one of the reasons they do that is because, and I know this because I stream a lot of content. We stream high-quality audio and video 24/7 from my network, and it costs you money. It's kind of a weird model, and radio stations freaked out when this first started happening because, you know, in a radio station, you build a tower, you build a transmitter, all the costs up front, and then if 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people listen, it costs you the same. More listeners doesn't cost you more money in radio. On the internet, every single listener costs you a few cents. Because, in effect, listening to internet radio is it's a continuous download from servers, right? So what happened is radio stations at first all embraced the idea of being on the internet, and then they got the bill. And they said, oh, this is costing us some money. Okay. And the problem with very popular stations, KOA, of course, Denver Broncos station, KFI, the big Los Angeles talker, these stations probably might have thousands, if not tens of thousands of listeners. And take it from me, I know that that's maybe tens of thousands of dollars a month.
Well, I'll just listen to my laptop then, I guess.
Well, I think what you should do is look for a firmware update for that internet radio because often they can fix whatever happened on the internet radio.
Okay. I'll check it out that way. Thank you very much.
Sure, Dwayne. I love internet radio. You know, I have several of these. In fact, my favorite way to do this now, besides on my phone, because most phones now have the capability, not a radio receiver, but they can use their 3G connections to tune in radio stations, and there's a number of apps. Clear Channel makes one. In fact, you probably can listen to both KOA and KFI on iHeartRadio. So that's for iOS and Android phones. They also have an iHeartRadio website. In fact, they did something kind of interesting. I don't know if it's launched yet. They're going to do a Pandora-style radio where you choose an artist and it makes a station out of that artist's stuff. And I presume they'll put ads in it. I mean, they've got to monetize it somehow. There's got to be some way of making some money off of it because they're not in this business for fun, nor am I, nor are most people if they're making a business out of it. You know, I think that's actually the key to it is put ads in the stream as opposed to popping ads up on the screen. So one of the ways radio responded to this big bill they got is they said, well, okay, we'll make a special flash player on our website that when you listen on the internet, it puts ads on there, right? So we can broadcast our regular radio show, but you get some ads that are sold specifically to online. See, because the people who buy the ads on the radio show aren't going to pay for online necessarily. So they'd have some special ads, and this player would be able to display those. But the problem is, as we've all mobilized, now we listen to radio on the internet and all over the place, not just on our computers. You know, we listen on our phones. We listen on purpose-built internet radio receivers, which are great. I was starting to say the one I love is the Sonos. It's a little pricey, But we have Sonoses throughout the office. They're about $400 per. Sound quality is excellent, but they're on the Wi-Fi, and then you can use an app on your computer or on your smartphone to listen to any radio station. So you can be anywhere in the house, and you can have all the Sonos players all over, and you can change them with your phone, and you can also listen to services like Spotify and Rhapsody and RDO and Mog and play your own music. And so I really like that. And so I listen to internet radio a lot that way. I think what's happening is most stations have figured out the technology to insert special online ads into the audio. And then they shouldn't care, right? Because then you're hearing the ad however you're listening. You don't have to watch a special player. So that's one solution. That still raises an issue with international listeners. And I know that Clear Channel, at least, many of the stations that carry my show, won't let you listen if you're out of the United States. And that's because advertisers won't pay for you. They pay for U.S. listeners. They don't pay for German listeners. And, we're in a transition period, aren't we? The internet has changed everything we know about media. I mean, it's made media available everywhere. It's made it available globally. Ad agencies have to change how they think about media. All of this stuff is changing rapidly. And, there's little issues. I do love internet radio. I've had a number of them. And I just love the idea of being able to listen to radio stations all over the world. Any kind of music. If you're from Denver and you miss the Broncos and you want to listen to the Broncos game, you can, because you can tune in KOA. Those things are all great. And I'm sure radio will figure out how to make this work because, frankly, they have to. They have to. I do an internet TV station. We're not broadcast on cable. We're not on satellite. We don't use antennas or transmitters. We're on the internet only. 24/7 broadcasting shows about technology. It's kind of like a CNN for geeks. And you got to think there's going to be more and more people doing that with both audio and video. You can listen to the network's called TWiT, TWiT, This Week in Tech. And we do there's an audio stream at twit.am. There's a video stream at twit.tv. And you can watch it 24/7. And of course, we want to make it available on every device, including all your internet radio boxes, your phones. Our goal is to make it available everywhere because we put the ads right in the content. So you get the ads no matter what. I think that's the way it has to work. And we do have to put ads in there because it's bandwidth's it's not free. It's getting cheaper. It's widely available, but it ain't free. And of course, the technology to do the broadcasting and all that, and you got to pay hosts. And unless you're doing this as a hobby, you got to have some way to make money at it, and that's really the bottom line. 8888 Ask Leo. Website for the radio show is techguylabs.com. Techguylabs.com. That's where we put the phone number, the show notes. James DeRuvo writes this all down. This is episode 809. So you can go there and go to 809 and see all the Q&As. We are in the process of developing a new website. I know I've promised this for years, but it's finally actually happening. I know because I wrote some checks. Oh, boy. Websites are expensive. But the goal here is to have a website that you can interact with better. And so we're working on that. And, of course, it'll be prettier, too. I know it's not the prettiest website, but it gets the job done. TechGuyLabs.com. You'll find links there to the TWiT network, to our wonderful chat room, too. Great place to go if you have some time and you're sitting down at a computer. 751 people in there, and they are a fun bunch. In just a minute, we go to Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, joining us on a Saturday for a change. Stay tuned. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Stream Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Is that you, Scott Wilkinson, on the horn butt or whatever you call it?
The sack butt, if you please.
I'm sorry.
Yes, that is me on the bass sack butt, playing in the band that I play with at the Renaissance Fair. And
how is it that Kyle Benham finds all of your music? Are you online somewhere with this stuff, or do you just have a Scott Wilkinson collection?
I send him clips to play.
Just a big fan.
He says, I'm just a big fan.
Yeah,
hey, Scott Wilkinson. Scott Wilkinson is our home theater guru, the online editor of Home Theater Magazine, hometheater.com, and a regular on our show. And, of course, he does a podcast on home theater called Home Theater Geeks.
Yep, we're all geeks on this bus.
Yes, we are indeed. And that's every Monday, 1:30 in the afternoon Pacific. That would, let's see, 1:30 would be 4:30 Eastern. Yeah. And who's on tomorrow?
Well, actually, tomorrow we're taking the day off. I have some family business I must take care of.
Actually, it would be the day after tomorrow. But tomorrow you're performing. I know tonight and tomorrow you're performing in Santa Cruz with a big band.
Tonight, that's right. Tonight I'm performing in Santa Cruz in a big band that I played in first 35 years ago.
Wow.
And what's amazing to me is that I still have muscle memory from some of the tunes. I remember practicing them, for hours. And some of the charts have actually my handwriting notes in them from 35 years ago.
Wow, that's cool.
Which is really quite amazing. I'm taking a serious trip back in time on this trip. So that's tonight. But I wanted to make sure everybody knew that in L.A. anyway, that next Friday, by the way, Lashana Tova, this is the Jewish New Year time, starting last Wednesday night. And this coming Friday night is the night before the end of the 10 Days of Awe, where my wife and I are the musical directors of a very large program in L.A. Starting at 7 o'clock. I'll be blowing the shofar and conducting a chorus, and we've got readings and lots of great music. That's at 7 o'clock this Friday night. If you are at loose ends in the Jewish community and want to come observe what's called Kol Nidra, the night before Yom Kippur, I invite you to come out to the Musicians Union Hall in Hollywood. Just go to sholem.org to get information.
The shofar is a ram's horn. Is it an actual horn that you play?
It is, yeah. It's an actual horn taken from a ram, taken in a very special way. It's got to be done very kosher. And
I'm sure the ram likes it.
Yeah, well, the ram doesn't like it, no.
Oh, good. It's a humane hornectomy. So,
well, hopefully. I can only hope so, yes.
One can but hope.
Yes, indeed.
Or one can sec but hope. So let us talk about home theater. What's up these days? What do you got on your plate?
Well, I got, as always, tons of questions from readers and listeners. And one of the most interesting ones I got recently was from Rick Audinot, which is kind of an interesting name for an audio guy, Audinot. And he says, I have a dedicated home theater. And he even sent me some pictures. And he said, my center channel doesn't always sound clear. I've heard others whose dialogue is crystal clear, but mine isn't. And I go,
muddy dialogue. The case of the muddy dialogue.
Indeed. So then he sends me some pictures of his system, and I went, aha, so that's the problem. He's got his center channel speaker tucked in a tiny little cabinet.
And he's wondering why it's muddy?
Exactly.
I just thought I'd stick it in this tissue box to see how it sounds. What?
Exactly.
Well, of course it's
that's
muddy.
The problem, yes. And I'm grateful that he sent me a picture so that I could see, because otherwise I would have gone, well, I don't know. I mean, he's got a Klipsch audio speaker systems, and Klipsch makes fine speakers.
Isn't it funny how somebody would spend so much money on audio and then stick the speaker in a box or whatever?
Yeah, basically that's the problem. Now, there are such things as speakers that can be placed in boxes and are designed to be placed in boxes or cabinets, tight-fitting cabinets, but this isn't one of them. This one is meant to be freestanding in the open air, and the sound is meant to radiate outwards. And
it's almost like line of sight. Well, I guess you call it line of ear.
Line of ear.
You want to have a direct line from the speaker cone to your ear, right? You don't want to have anything in the way.
Oh, you do have that. He does have that in this case, but it's the sound that's kind of emanating off to the side.
Oh, interesting.
That is causing the problem.
So it's not a closed box; it's an open box.
Well, it's kind of closed except in the front. It's actually a cabinet, and he opens the door to expose the center.
Well, that's interesting. See, I understand now the confusion, because you would think, in fact, that might even make like almost a trumpet. It might improve the quality of the sound, but not so, huh?
But not so. No,
okay.
It really needs to be in the open air. This particular speaker. Now, there are, as I say, there are speakers that are designed to be put in boxes, or more particularly to be put in walls. These are called in-wall speakers, and they work fine when they're used that way. But this particular one, this Klipsch, beautiful, the high-end Klipsch center channel speaker, is not meant to be placed in a box. So the answer, fortunately, is fairly simple. It's take it out of there and put it on a shelf that has open space around it.
See, I love this because Scott is not merely a video expert, really primarily an audio expert, because as a musician, you pay a lot of attention to sound.
That's exactly right.
Audio questions are more than welcome. Do you answer questions at hometheater.org?
Oh, I do. Hometheater.com.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not a nonprofit. Yeah. Okay.
No, it's not. I was listening with interest to what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, radio stations aren't nonprofits either. Yeah.
Right. And reviewing, too, it's very critical. I mean, we survive on advertising, as you do. You know, most publications do. And so there's a line to be walked between advertising, which we need to survive, and reviews that are not tainted by, as you said, companies coming to us and saying, well, we want you to review the product this way or that way. We always have to say, no way, we can't do it.
Right.
You have to send it to us. We have to review it and tell it like we see it or tell it like we hear it, with no conditions. Because if we do, then, readers can't trust what we say. And if readers can't trust what we say, they won't come to our site. And if they don't come to our site, the advertisers won't get the eyeballs, and the whole system collapses. So we have to maintain our integrity, our editorial integrity, just like you do. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because I feel exactly the same way.
For people who are listening on the radio, this was off the air, Scott, that I was talking about this.
I didn't realize that.
Our audience is going, what the heck is he talking about? But just to recap, I did a silly thing, and I have a policy in general of not accepting review units, but of buying the stuff that we review. Most journalists can't do that because
we can't do that.
Well, you can't buy a bunch of
we do
TVs,
yeah,
right?
Exactly, for thousands of dollars.
And I can't always do that, but whenever possible, I like to, especially with phones, because phones, I feel a 2-week period, which is typically the hardware review period, is not enough. And also, if you don't own the phone, you don't kind of invest in it. So to really review a phone, I think you need to spend time with it and invest in it. Treat it as your phone. Put all your stuff on it.
Yeah.
And then you can
really
get a sense of it. And really use it, which is why, unfortunately, I have phones and accounts with all 4 of the big carriers, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon, and carry phones, which I pay for. But we interviewed a Microsoft guy on one of our podcasts a couple of days ago. He's the guy in charge of app development for Windows Phone. And he said, I'd like to get you a Windows Phone. We do something we call the Windows Phone Challenge. And they did it with Scott Adams of Dilbert, and they've done it with Molly Wood at CNET. We challenge you to replace your current phone with a Windows Phone for a couple of weeks, and then report back, whether you like it or not. And I foolishly accepted, realizing later, well, I don't like to do that because they're placing, some requirement on how I review it. However, that is how I would do it. And I will get the new Windows Mango phone, and I will review it. So there you go. HomeTheater.com. Scott Wilkinson, thanks for joining us. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
When that cute little waitress remembered my name.
Leo. Hey, you've got a Carbonite live read here.
Thank you.
Running way behind with the boss on my back. Man, that's the last time I'll ever do that. I got no one to blame.
Yeehaw. Kyle Benham, our musical director, the man on the board.
For getting Friday night drunk in the middle of the week.
I'm not going to ask him where that came from. He must have seen my Facebook page. Kyle, I was thinking Kyle, of course, chooses all the music that we come back from, our bumper music, as they call it, and he's really great about it. In fact, puts together a list of all the songs, finally, after years of people requesting that, which we put on the show notes at Tech Guy Labs. He also puts it on Google Plus and gives you a link to a Spotify playlist so you can listen to all those songs yourself. But I was thinking, Kyle, maybe on the day the Amazon releases the Fire, we could play, I bet we could do it too. Every single song should have the word fire in it. I'm thinking, that's a challenge to you, Kyle. Start thinking about it. Can you do it?
All right. Well, there's some great Fire songs.
I think there's a ton of them.
Let's do it.
There's the U2 Unforgettable Fire. There's the Pointer Sisters Fire. I'm riding in my car. I turn on the radio.
Queen put out the fire.
Queen put out the fire. Billy Joel, We Didn't Start the Fire.
Jimi Hendrix, Fire.
Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire. Jimi Hendrix, Fire. I think we could do it. How many songs do we need? We need, about 15? No,
9.
Not even that many. 9. Oh, we could do 9 songs with fire. So let's do that. Chariots of Fire, thank you. Van Halen, Fire in the Hole. War, Fire, You Can Light My Fire. Fire. Ohio Players, Fire. Springsteen, I'm on Fire. I think we have more than that. Maybe the whole weekend we'll play songs with the word fire in it. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number to call. Who's on the phones? Is it Gina Yates doing the phones today?
Yes.
I recognize her handwriting.
Very good.
Angelo in Rancho Cucamonga. Hello, Angelo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you, Angelo?
I'm doing well. Just a bit frustrated. I'm so thankful that I could talk to you.
Well, light my fire. What can I do to help you? I hope I can help you.
Yep. I'll try to. I have an Acer laptop with 320 gigabytes of hard drive space.
Seems like that's a good amount for a laptop.
I'm happy with it, and I've been saving a lot of pictures of the family. I don't do movies, but I'm starting to get low warning messages, like the computer's actually not performing like its core functions. It's so low, and I went to my computer and found out that there's a D drive and it was split right in half.
Oh, yeah.
The computer's not even using it. I tried.
So they took the 320 gigs that the laptop came with, and they did something called partitioned it. Did they? Now, how big are the two drives?
Exactly in half.
So 160 and 160. So it's not unusual to have a hidden partition. This is where you have to be a little bit careful. A lot of computers, I think Acer's included, will come. Many Windows computers will come with what they call a hidden partition. Actually, Apple does it now too with its OS X Lion. That is usually not very big, 10, 20 gigabytes, and that contains the operating system for reinstall purposes. So you got to be careful about just kind of blasting partitions out. But you can look, and the easiest way to do it, and it sounds like this is what you did, is to look in the disk management function. So as you say, you right-click on My Computer, select Manage, and then go to the Storage tab on that console, the Management console, and it'll show you a partition map. It'll show you not only what drives are attached, but how each drive is divided. And that's, I presume, what you did.
No, I didn't.
You just looked and it said C drive, D drive. Yeah, that's fine. So one thing you can do often, what version of Windows are you using?
Vista.
Okay. So what you want to do is non-destructively change the partitioning of the drive so that instead of a C and a D, you just have a C. Well, then you'd have plenty of room, wouldn't you?
Well, I did something that I was wondering if I have time enough to ask you if there's a solution for.
Uh-oh, you tried to solve it?
Well, I didn't know what to do, so I cut and pasted a lot of my programs and put them into the D, and then I've been trying to back out of that for a week now because I lost file associations, and I still have my data, but now there's data in both places, even though I cut it and pasted it. And if I delete one file in D, it deletes it in C.
Oh, well, that's okay. I think you're all right. Was it data that you did that with?
Yes. But some of the data had, like my Quicken Money program thing, it didn't know where to find my identity anymore. Stuff like that started to...
Yeah, I mean, just in general, the way you want to... There's two things you could do. You could do what I had originally suggested, which is unpartition the drive, or you can keep a D drive for data. I think that was not a bad instinct, but the way to do it is to just copy, don't do cut and paste, but just copy the whole document and settings folder over to D, and then you tell Windows that's where my data drive is. And it's not a complicated solution. You kind of, but it involves changing the properties of the drive and telling Windows that my documents is stored on D, that kind of thing. It's not a hard thing to do. You might, if you've got a complete set of data on D right now, you might be fine if you right-click on My Documents, select Properties, and in the Properties you'll be able to say this is where My Documents is, and you change it from C My Documents to D My Documents.
Oh.
That might, if you've got a complete set of data, just try that, see what happens. And then once you've verified, you can even continue to copy stuff from C to D until you get everything there, right? So once you have a complete set of data on in fact, you could, the truth is just copy the My Documents folder at this point. Just drag it from C to D. Once you've got a complete set there, then go into the properties of My Documents and say, hey, by the way, that's on D.
I wish this was more self-evident. This is a new thing for me. It was really...
Well, Acer did you a disservice by dividing it up, although I often tell people it's not a bad idea to have data on a separate drive so that if you have to reinstall Windows, it doesn't in any way impact the data drive. You can erase the Windows drive and start over. But I think what you really want to do is tell Windows, no, My Documents is now on D. And I think even Quicken and Money and all these programs, they're looking for the official My Documents folder. And they trust Windows when Windows says, oh, yes, you'll find that at D:/My Documents. They say, oh, fine, we'll find it. And so what I would suggest, don't do anything destructive. Don't trash anything. Don't repartition. Don't format. Don't do anything yet. Just see if you can get everything working by taking the My Documents folder that's on C, copying it to D, then going into the properties of My Documents and saying, pointing it to D:/My Documents. We used to do this in Windows 98 and 95 with a program called TWiT UI. But now you could just do that directly in the properties of My Documents.
Wow.
Don't move your programs around, though. You still want programs and Windows all to be on C.
Got it.
Just the data. All right?
Thank you, Leo.
Good luck, Angelo. When you're setting it up, next time when you're setting it up, great idea to have either two drives or to, as I said, partition, which is take the drive and tell Windows, tell the operating system, I've divided this single physical drive into two logical drives or partitions. There's a C drive and a D drive. Put all your data in the D drive. Put My Documents in the D drive, my photos, my pictures, my music, all the data in the D drive. Point each of those folders to the D drive. Windows will change the registry. It'll change the pointers. Programs should normally just save in My Documents. They'll continue to save in My Documents, but it'll be on D. Once you're satisfied that everything's working fine, you can then delete My Documents from C. I'd back it up before you do any deletions, but you can delete My Documents from C, and then you'll have more room on C, and you continue. It's the photos, of course, that are taking up all the space. 8888 asks Leo, if you have the luxury, and that is a laptop, but if you're on a desktop, it's great to have two drives. Justin in Malibu, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Mr. Laporte. I was on your show last weekend, but unfortunately I was the last caller and could not get to ask my question.
Great. I'm glad you came back. Hold on a second. I want to do a quick commercial. This is actually good timing, and I will get to you, Justin. Oh, maybe I won't. But look, good news, Justin. The show's not over. We're going to take a break for local news, and we'll be back in just a moment. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, there's the magic sound telling us it's time for hour number 2 of the Tech Guy Show. Leo Laporte here. I am the Tech Guy. Phone number is 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Outside the U.S., we'd love to hear from you. You just have to call using Skype or one of them voice over the internet doohickeys. And since it's a toll-free number, it shouldn't cost you a penny. 8888. Ask Leah. Poor Justin. Last caller, the last hour last week. I said, call me back. And then I get him on the air and I say, hold on. You're very patient, Justin. Welcome back to the Screensavers. What can I do for you?
Hi. So I don't know if you remember from last weekend, but I created an app for the iPhone called Help Now that is a panic button that will notify all your family members with a link to your location via Google Maps.
And by the way, Justin, you're 13?
I am, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I just want to give you credit because it's a big red help button, and it's a great idea. Now, it's already on the App Store.
That is correct. Help Now is on the App Store.
So your issue is, well, how do I let people know it's there? And this is a big problem because there's more than 250,000 apps on the App Store. And frankly, the best way to get known is to get Apple to promote you. If you go to the App Store, you'll see that Apple has, right up front, big editorial buttons that say, here's what we like. But it tends to be a big, well-known companies, doesn't it? PBS,
Right. How would
Electronic
someone...
arts. How does an independent 13-year-old get a app up there? Well, your guess is as good as mine. You can't pay for it. You can send an email to Apple, but who knows if it'll get to whoever makes these decisions. I can tell you what I know from podcasting, because there's a similar process in podcasting as well. And, of course, that's what a lot of my shows are, podcasts. That is, shows you can download from iTunes. And there's one or two guys that make this determination. They decide what's on the front, new and noteworthy, staff favorites, what topics they're going to cover. They make those decisions, and they have wield huge power, don't they?
They do, yeah.
But with a podcast, there's an address we can send an email to saying, "Here's what we're going to be doing," and you just cross your fingers. With apps, I don't even think there's even an address to write to. I think you just have to hope and pray. It's the same problem, with anything. You got to start by making something good and having people buy it. I suspect that they pay attention to how many downloads you got, and then if something starts becoming popular, then they jump on that bandwagon. But I don't know of any way to influence them. So this is the best way to promote it. It's get right there on that front page of the App Store, but you really can't do it. You just got to hope. And if you're not Major League Baseball or Electronic Arts or PBS, good luck. They do. I mean, independents do get promoted, but usually not, to be honest. So that means you got to market yourself. And this is really always the challenge in nowadays. What's really happened? It's great. A 13-year-old can make his own app, put it on the App Store, but that is a huge breakthrough. You could write your own novel and put it on the internet, or sell it on Amazon even as an ebook. You can film your own movie and put it on YouTube and get millions of viewers. Just look at people like Fred Figglesworth and Angry Orange. You can make your own music and put it on SoundCloud and have millions of listeners. So it's great. I mean, the tools to make content have never been more affordable or more available. Basically, anybody who can afford a computer can make content. The tools to publish content, same thing. In fact, the internet is basically free. YouTube costs you nothing. A blog at WordPress.com or Blogspot.com costs you nothing. So publishing it is even widely available. You know what's missing? The thing that publishers and the record label and the movie companies do so well, and that's marketing. It's expensive the way they do it. They spend a lot of money. They get your name out there. The problem is they, like Apple, is the same problem. If you're not an established artist, they're not going to promote you. I know I've written 13 books, great publishers, but and I said, well, when do we go on the book tour? Because I saw, every big author goes on a book tour. No, we don't do book tours with you. We only do book tours with established authors. Danielle Steele. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. I mean, it's just the way it is in the world. So we've got to market ourselves. So how do you do that? And that's really, Justin, in the last analysis, this is the question, is how do we take up the slack from the big publishers? We can create the content, we can distribute the content, but how do we get it promoted? And that's a lot more difficult. I think of it as building a community around yourself. It's hard with just one app, but you can certainly go to the places where people who would buy that app might hang out. Hikers, adventurers, parents of teenagers, and, forums, blogs, and so forth, and participate. You can't just go there and say, hey, by the way, I've got a great program. You can't just because they call that spam. So you have to do it with a gentle touch. You have to participate in the community and then, maybe mention that you're doing this great program. It's good when you're developing the program to ask for help from this community, because then you're not promoting something. You're saying, hey, can you help me? That's good. Of course, it's promoting it, but, it doesn't look that way. You got to find tricks. You got to find ways. You got to participate in the potential community, the potential audience, and you should be doing that all along. Good luck, Justin. I mean, the other way to do it, of course, is call a radio show and tell everybody about it. Help Me, the name of the act. Matt Ontario, California. You're next. Hi, Matt. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello.
Hello, Matt.
How goes it, sir? I had a question. I do air conditioning, heating, and refrigeration. And right now I'm running on a Toshiba satellite and an Android 2 phone. So I'm looking to move into paperless for my company, trying to get a pad. Like a
iPad.
I'm not a big fan of Apple.
Sorry, that's your choice. iPad or iPad. You can get. I'm telling you, you can get an Android tablet, but you won't be able to do any of the things you want to do with it. I love Android. I'm an Android phone user. But the truth is, the iPad is the established product. They have all the apps that are things like your forms, sign on the screen, all that stuff. It's all on the iPad. At this point, there's no way you should consider anything else. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 88 Ask Leo. I do think that at some point Windows tablets might be a good choice for somebody who wants. So, and this is I hear this all the time now. People who are contractors, plumbers, salespeople want to put all their forms, all their bids, all their estimates on the iPad, or I should say on the iPad, on a tablet. So that they can show them to people. People can sign the tablet. That's why the tablet's better than perhaps a laptop, because people can sign it on the tablet, which is very cool. And then they can press print and have it print out or whatever. I mean, this is a great way to go. It's light, it's fast, it's easy, and it replaces all those paper forms. The iPad has a broad range of products that do that right now. And that's the only tablet platform that does. When Windows tablets get more mature, I think that that's going to be a strong contender. Certainly Windows 8, that's Microsoft's intent. And there's also, what is it called? The Iconics, I think? Something like that. Is it Asus or Acer? I can never remember. I think it's an Acer Iconia. That's the name of it. It's a Windows 7 tablet that looks intriguing. Oh, man, that one's Android. There is a Windows 7 tablet. Am I crazy? It docks as you can make it a laptop, which is nice too, convertible. But you can also make it a tablet. I find that intriguing. I think that is an interesting potential way to go. I guess it's in Android. See, the problem is that Android is not mature in the tablet space. It's very disappointing in the tablet space. And that may change in a couple of weeks when Android goes to the honeycomb version. But I'm sorry, the ice cream sandwich. But the current version, honeycomb, is just inadequate, I think, to get the job done. And there aren't very many apps. The apps number for the tablets in the hundreds. So I think if for that particular purpose, now again, don't get me wrong, for a phone, I love Android. But I think for that particular purpose, a line of business apps like that, I think you're either going to want to go Windows, or if you need to get it now, I'd say go iPad. 8888 Ask Leo. You can hate a company, I don't blame you. But if you ask me how to get something done the best, that's the answer, whether you hate the company or not. If be my guest, if you want to buy an HP touchpad, hey, they're only $99. But it's not going to solve the problem. Vinny, Huntington Beach, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Vinny.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call. I have a couple issues with my desktop. Maybe you can give me some headway.
Absolutely.
Okay. What this is a Gateway FX7024 system.
Okay.
Basically set up for gaming. It has Vista installed. Intel Core 2 quad processors, 2.4 gigahertz, 3 gigabytes of DDR2, it's a 500 gigabyte hard drive. And I have an NVIDIA GT400 HDMI video card. And what happens is occasionally I'll get a blue screen that says page fault in non-paged area.
You got a problem with your RAM.
It's the RAM, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Any ideas? Do I need more RAM? Or?
Not more RAM. You need different RAM. Chips have probably gone bad or they're not seated properly. I'd try resetting them a little bit. And maybe, if that fixes it. But, yeah, almost always that's a problem with RAM. And it may also be non-matching RAM. It sounds like you might have you upgraded this at all? If you've put in your own RAM, you want to make sure you get the right RAM. Steve, Jefferson City, Missouri. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo.
Welcome.
Hey, I've got a little bit of a problem. I run a little DJ service. I've been doing it for quite a while, 30 years plus. And last night, I run a PC DJ. I've kind of been dragged into the digital age.
All DJs now, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Do you use iPods? Do you use... I remember a lot of DJs for a while went through those discs, those Sony discs.
Oh, the mini disc?
Mini discs.
I've got a Sony mini disc player.
That was very popular for a while. You got to go... I mean, you went from vinyl to mini discs, and now it's all, I would presume, all digital, right?
Yeah, I still use CD. I subscribe to services, for my music.
That's the problem, of course, is getting it to the digital if you've got a lot of CDs. Yeah. But on the other hand, schlepping those CDs around can't be easy.
Oh, yeah, they're pretty heavy. But I basically do that just mostly for backup, because of, potential computer problems.
Right.
But
yeah, that would be the worst, wouldn't it? You have a hard drive crash. You got about 400 wedding attendees standing, waiting for Hava Nagila, and you got a blue screen of death. That's not good.
Exactly. Yeah, and actually, I've been pretty lucky. I've been using just a Dell laptop. I can't even remember what. It's not particularly a powerful laptop, but
well, you don't need it. Playing back audio is not very challenging, not difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And I use a PC DJ as the software, but I've got an outboard, just a Western Digital, just one of those little mini hard drives. I kind of got into the whole thing, just kind of eased into it, and last night, I've got a gig actually today, and last night I fired up the laptop and plugged in, had the hard drive, and it doesn't want to recognize the drive.
Ah! It's USB?
It is a USB drive.
Have you tried a different cable, just in case?
I'll tell you what I did, because I listen to you quite a bit, so I went through and I went ahead and ordered SpinRite. Got that. I tried it. It would not. SpinRite wouldn't see the drive.
Yeah, a USB drive is not ideal for SpinRite. I mean, you can use SpinRite to work on a USB drive, but it doesn't have the full capabilities. What you really want to do is take the drive out of the enclosure, put it in a tower, and do it directly from the SATA connector.
Yeah, I did that. I took it, actually, I was dealing with laptops, so I took it out of the case and I put it in the laptop, just put in place of the main drive, and ran it off of a CD-ROM, of course, and then it still wouldn't see it.
Okay.
The drive kind of clicks and pops and so on.
That's good. I mean, so you did exactly what you needed to do, which is now you know it's not the enclosure, it's not the cable, it's the drive.
Yeah.
And that's dead.
Yep.
If you can't see it in BIOS, if it doesn't show up when you turn on the system, that's pretty dead. Now there could be some things somewhat easier to fix. You asked me the question before I start answering it.
Okay, I've kind of got it in my head that the drive is probably, it may not be recoverable.
It's kerfluggered.
Say again?
I hope you had a backup.
Well, I do kind of have a backup. It's not up to date, of course. But now I do have Carbonite on my work computer, so I'm,
All right. So here's the deal. If there's a hardware failure, as there was, there's very few things you can do. Sometimes it's just the circuit card. That's the one thing you can fix. Everything else is inside the drive and cannot be fixed and will cost thousands to fix. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're talking about a dead hard drive. I kind of had a rush because we had to get out of Dodge for the local news, but just to kind of finish that thought, hard drives die in a variety of ways. First of all, they're the most likely thing to die on your computer because Of course, they're the moving part in your computer. Everything else is solid state. And, of course, sometimes it does fail, but it's much less likely to fail and much more likely to just go on forever than the hard drive. So it's almost always a safe bet. If there's something wrong with your computer, look at the hard drive first. Software and the hard drive. And, of course, software runs off the hard drive, and that's one of the reasons we have software problems is because hard drives sometimes, don't deliver the data that's supposed to be there. But if a hard drive will not start up, and especially if you hear or the computer laboring to read it, that kind of thing, there's two ways that it could be broken. One is soft, one is hard. The soft failure is data that was on the hard drive can't be read or can't be read reliably. And that's what a program like SpinRite fixes. It will go through every sector of the drive, and it won't give up. Your operating system is going to give up after a while. Because if it can't read that sector, it's just going to say, I give up. And you will have a crash or a failure of some kind. Sometimes you can sort of read it. And so what that'll do is slow your operating system down. But a program like SpinRite, and really there aren't many programs like, if any, programs like SpinRite. But SpinRite does is it reads it and reads it and reads it and reads it and just doesn't give up. And eventually, if it can get some data, it will. And then it will take that sector that data was on and mark it bad. There are many, many bad sectors in your hard drive already. They come from the factory with bad sectors. There's actually a table. It's called the bad sector table that tells the hard drive, don't use this, don't use this, don't use this. Because it's impossible to make these platters that hold so much data without imperfection. So there's always some imperfections. There's always some bad sectors. It just adds that sector to the bad sector table and goes on. And in fact, if there's just a few bad sectors, it can often turn that drive into a completely, fully functioning drive that will last just as long as a brand new one. That's a soft error. There are other kinds of soft errors. That's a soft error in the sector holding data. There's also, of course, it's possible that you turned off the computer while it was writing to the drive and it spewed data across the drive, making it impossible for it to read the table of contents or the partition table or to perhaps load a key file. That's not really the hard drive's fault, but the data that's on the hard drive's mangled, and of course the computer won't boot properly or will crash a lot or won't, it just won't be reliable. Those are all what I call soft errors. Then there's hard errors. They're actual physical hardware errors. There's all kinds of those too. The head on the hard drive got bent by an impact. Or perhaps it got stuck. There's a thing called stiction where it actually bonds to the surface of the drive. The head on a hard drive is not supposed to touch the drive. But sometimes if it gets bonded to the surface of the drive can't even turn on. That circuit board, you've seen that on top of the drive, that could get shorted out or something could go wrong with that. That's not very likely because, again, that's solid state, but something could go wrong with that. The problem is that if it's a physical error, if it's damaged physically, there's not anything you can do in software to fix it. You could run SpinRite all you want, but you're not going to be able to fix it. In fact, in his case, Steve said SpinRite couldn't even see the drive. If the computer can't even see the drive, well, that means there's something significantly wrong with the drive. Could be the interface card on it, and it could be something inside. So how do we recover that? Well, you can't. You need a hardware specialist. And these companies, drivesavers.com is one, tend to charge a lot of money. Why? Because, well, they need parts for every drive in existence because the parts have to match exactly if they're going to replace that circuit board, for instance. And if they have to open up the drive, if the head is glued to the drive or there's a scratch on the drive or the head is bent, they have to open the drive. They have to do that in a clean room environment because you can't even have one speck of dust on that hard drive. So they've got bunny suits in the clean room environment. They take the hard drive in. They open it up. They take parts, because they have matching parts, and replace the head or replace the platter or whatever and get your data off. And that will cost. It usually starts at a couple of $1,000s. But you can call them. They'll give you an estimate. Drivesavers.com. But I just got to warn you. You only do that if this is vital. I got to get this stuff back. That's why backing up is such a good idea, because if there really is a physical error on the drive, it's so expensive to get it back. You might as well just write it off. So those are the two kinds of failures, Steve. I hope, that you've got a copy of your data, because the truth is it sounds like you've got a hardware error, and that is going to be so expensive to fix, it's probably not worth it. Chris in Rosamond, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Leo.
Well, thanks for calling. How you doing?
Good. I'm calling today because it's actually a favor for a friend of mine. He is not a very tech-savvy kind of guy, a professional photographer who didn't transition to digital, I think, until probably the mid-2000s.
That's about right, to be honest. I just brought in my first digital camera, which I got around then. It was 3 megapixels. Digital didn't really get good till about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, he had I think a Nikon F4, and then
great camera,
Canon 5D.
Yeah, that's what I shoot with, and I love it.
It's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah.
And so he's hired some folks to set up a website for him, and he's wondering how to try to market it. I think primarily right now what he's using is mass emailings.
Yeah, I hate doing that because it looks so much like spam. Number one way, if you're a photographer and you are not on Google+, you are missing the boat. You probably should be on Facebook too, and you certainly should have a website with a portfolio. Every photographer does. But I have to tell you, and it's now free and open to join, plus.google.com. Take a look. The photographers that are on here, just amazing. I have a circle, which I recently shared. If you go to follow me on Google+, and I think a couple of days ago shared my circle of 217 photographers. It was Trey Ratcliffe was one of the first to do this. He's very well known he's got a great website, a model website called stuckincustoms.com. Here's one of Trey's posts. He started posting a picture a day to Facebook, a picture a day to Twitter, but it's been Google Plus that has taken Trey to the next level. He posts a picture a day on Google Plus, a picture a day on his website. He drives traffic to his website from Google Plus, and then, of course, once you get to his website, then he does things like, and notice he puts the website address right in his entry. Then he does things like sell you DVDs on how to do the high dynamic range photography he does and so forth. But here's the most recent post from Trey Ratcliffe. It's from La Sainte-Chapelle, a beautiful Paris church. Gorgeous. He has a link back to his website. On this, he has 423 pluses. That means people who clicked the plus sign on it and said, I like this. It's, Facebook like on Google. He's got 66 shares. That's 66 people who reshared this image into their stream, and 111 comments. It's been very successful for Trey, partly because Google Plus has such a nice light box, so it's a really great way for photographers to share. So if you're a photographer, if your friend's a photographer, start by going on Google Plus and posting your best shots. Another site that I really like that's starting to take off is 500px, 500px.com. This is a beautiful photo sharing site, and what seems to have happened is that the people who share on it only share their absolute best images on it. So the images on here tend to be just stunning. And I think people who love photography will go here looking for images. And then, of course, you've got to have a Facebook page and a website. It all goes back to your website, right? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. You gotta Google me, baby. That's tough for somebody who wants to do an alternative search engine. The Google's now a verb. It's in the language. It's like Kleenex or Xerox. It's Google me, baby. And unlike Kleenex and Xerox, Kleenex and Xerox hate it that people use their brands as generic terms, and they stop them whenever they can. Google probably loves it. It's great for Google. You never heard anybody say, I'll Bing you, baby. I'll Bing you. No. Bing it. Bing it. But if Microsoft could get people to start saying that, they would be very happy. What I didn't know is Google has 60. How much? I shouldn't. I gave the answer away. How much market share do you think Google has of search? 80, 90%, 65%. It's only 65%. Bing has 30%. If you look at Bing, Yahoo Bing, and because Yahoo uses Bing, and all the different ways people use Bing on their phones, Bing has 30% of market share. So that's a big, significant part. But it's always going to be Google Me, isn't it? Hey, let's go to Vietnam. Eric's on the line via Skype. Hi, Eric. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yeah, hi, Leo. Congratulations to your new studio.
It's great, isn't it?
It's perfect.
Thank you so much. So that you're watching on the internet.
Yeah, I watch on the internet. I switched off the video stream because I don't have enough bandwidth. So I just listen to you at the moment.
Well, thank you so much. It's really great. Do you live in Vietnam? It sounds like you're German.
Yeah, I'm German. I live in Vietnam since 2003.
I hear it's a beautiful country. I'm dying to go.
Yeah, I love the region. I especially love Myanmar, I have to say. I travel.
Really?
I travel next month. I travel to Myanmar. And I have a small project. I take pictures of children, and I need SSD external drives to save the pictures. And the second question would be, I need a small rough camera that I can give to the children, that they can take their pictures by themselves.
What a great idea. Why SSD, Eric?
I have a small Acer netbook with a normal hard drive, and that's at the moment dying. And I'm thinking about changing to SSD because they are tougher.
Oh, you mean a laptop with an SSD internally, not external?
Yeah, I want to get external for this trip because I want to use still my old laptop, and later I will change to
put it in. Well, I have to say, I mean, my favorite. There are some new ultra mobile laptops coming out on the Windows platform. In fact, the Acer is out any day now, and it looks gorgeous. But I have to say the gold standard in portable, lightweight SSD-based laptops are, of course, the MacBooks. And I think the Air is fantastic. I just love it, especially for a photographer. You probably use Lightroom or...
Yeah, I use Lightroom. I'm on Windows. The problem here with Apple in Vietnam is it's not so known here in the country, so there's nobody who can repair it, and there are not so many stores who have it. So if you have a problem with an Apple product, then it's better to go to Bangkok or Singapore.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So I stuck with Windows. That's why I not use Apple. Because my brother, he uses since 20 years Apple, and he always tells me, use Apple. I say, yeah, nobody knows Apple here. It's for me, it makes no sense. I would like to use the Apple notebooks, but no chance here.
Well, then I would say the new Ultra Mobiles, which are starting to come out any minute now, are going to be a really, really good choice for you. They're gorgeous. Lenovo makes them. Dell makes them. In fact, everybody basically makes them. The first one that's going to be out of the gate very soon here. If I can remember, my memory is going for it. Is it Asus or Acer? I can never. I know it's an Ace sound.
I think.
Or is it?
I think Acer brings one out.
Yeah, I think it's Acer, and I think it's due any minute now, like in the next couple of weeks. I'm not sure if they're going to get their pricing down to $1,000, but you know, that's one of the things that Intel is really pushing these manufacturers to do. I think this is very exciting. I think it's going to be called the Ultrabook. Acer has apparently cut $200 off the price. Now that's in the U.S. It might be more expensive elsewhere. It's the Aspire S3. Say again?
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem: that the SSD drives in these ultra lightweight notebooks are not traditional SATA form factor drives. So, the one, for instance, in the MacBook Air, and I suspect this to be the case in the Acer as well, looks more like an SO-DIMM. It's got a connector on the short edge, but it looks like it's basically a stripped down flash memory on a PCB board. And so you'd have to get a special enclosure for that.
From the side?
Yeah, they're not. They don't. You couldn't get a traditional enclosure for it. Is my point.
Yeah. Do I have to look for special brands? Is a Samsung better than another brand, or does it not matter?
No, it very much matters. And what I would do is go to PCPER.com. PCPER.com. That's PC Perspective. And over on the right at the top there, they have an SSD decoder. Alan Malventano, who writes this, is the king of SSDs. And his version 4 just came out this month. And this tells you exactly what chipsets are the best and then what manufacturers use those chipsets. So it'll give you a lot of information about write speeds, read speeds, and capabilities. I think generally he likes the Sandforce chipset controller, but you should absolutely look at this before you buy. And then it'll tell you the various brands you can buy. Again, if you want to then use it internally in a new notebook, that could be a problem. I would suggest truthfully, what I do with my MacBook Air is I do carry a spinning, very large drive. Because remember, SSD is so expensive. If you get a and with photos, you're going to get a high capacity drive. It's going to cost a lot of money. I use a spinning external terabyte or 2 terabyte bus powered drives on this Mac laptop. That gives me more capacity. The internal drive is small, but I can run Lightroom off of it. I can keep the catalog off of it, but I keep the originals, the raw files, on external drives. I usually bring 2 of them and copy from one to the other for a backup, because as you travel, you want a backup. Now, as for a small, inexpensive camera you can hand the kids, that's an interesting question. I presume you want to keep it under $100. Does it need to be? It needs to be digital, right, Eric?
Yeah, it could be, let's say, $200, but it must be easy to use, because I will give it to children who never used the camera before.
What a great idea! This sounds like such a good project. What's your website so we can see it when you're done with it?
Yeah, I have a project. Actually, perhaps you got a letter from me. I sent you 5 pictures by WHCC. I'm not sure if you got it.
Oh, I'll have to look. I get a lot of mail, unfortunately. You sent me a snail mail, paper letter?
Yeah, a paper letter.
I'm sorry if I missed it. I'll look for it somewhere. That doesn't ring a bell. I will look for it. What's the website for the project?
You can go to About Me, Eric Neu.
About.me/ERI
KNEU.
NEU. And that will be a link to find more about Eric, the About Me site. Oh, look at this! What a great photographer! Oh my gosh, that's a great shot. You do mostly black and white?
Yeah, a lot. Depends on the subject. I do a lot of factories, this kind of factories, and the black and white just cuts it.
This, by the way, is the answer to our previous caller who had a photographer friend. How do I publicize my photographs? You've got an About.me, which is just one image, but it then links to 500px.com, blurb.com, where I presume I can get books of your images, Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, I just done it.
Yeah, and then I see GoFundMe. And is this for the Vietnam project? Childhood Memories. That's great.
Yeah.
So you're going to try to raise money this way. GoFundMe is a great site.
Yeah, I wanted to try Kickstarter, but as a German, I think I cannot use it because I don't have an American credit card.
Right.
You need an account in the U.S. And this one I can use even from Europe or from Vietnam.
Well, Eric, I wish everybody, wish you luck, and I hope everybody goes to your About Me page. We'll put a link in the show notes, about.me/ERIKNEU. Finds out more about what you're up to. And when we come back from the break, I'll give you some inexpensive, easy-to-use digital cameras. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thanks, Eric. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy, hour number 3 of the Tech Guy Show. If you want to ask a question, make a comment, make a suggestion, my number, 8888, Ask Leo. We were talking before the break to a German photographer, Eric Neu, who's doing a really interesting project in Vietnam. He calls it Childhood Memories. In fact, you can look at his request for funding. He's looking for donors. GoFundMe.com/6N2TK. We'll put actually, best thing to do, go to our website, TechGuyLabs.com, and we'll have links to Eric's sites in the show notes. What a neat idea. But he's looking for, and you know, it's surprisingly difficult to find, an easy-to-use digital camera for kids. Dagomar has an interesting suggestion from our chat room. He says, well, what about the Fisher-Price $39 Kid Tough digital camera? Now, that's going to be easy to use. It's got a big button and a zoom on it. It'll take 2,000 photos. Probably, I would guess, does not have removable memory, but I'm not sure. It's got a viewfinder, which makes it much easier for kids because they put their eye up to it, look through it, and there's the picture they're going to get. It actually has what they call digital zoom. That means it's a fixed focus length optics, which is what you want. I think zoom is one of the things that makes a digital camera difficult to use. Now, Eric, I don't know how good the images are going to be out of this, and I'm not sure how important it is that they be good images, but boy, this will be easy to use, and cheap enough you could buy quite a few of them. Another recommendation if you want better quality are the Kodak Easy Share cameras. These are cameras that are, Kodak I think does a pretty good job of designing very easy to use, or relatively easy to use cameras. But as soon as you have knobs and switches and buttons on the top, I think that kids might very well get confused and find it difficult to use them. So I'm not sure, you know, for instance, and even my wife, who is not a kid, has trouble with this dial-up on the top. And most digital cameras have these dials up on the top that are very easy to accidentally knock. And she'll bring her camera to me often and say, hey, I don't understand. It's only doing video. Or, boy, nothing's in focus. And I'll say, well, see, honey, on the knob here, it's switched to M or video. And you just switch this dial up at the top here. And that's the problem. And I think with a kid, the same thing. Those icons are not communicative to kids who aren't very used to the digital culture. I think that it's going to be too complicated. So take a look at those Fisher-Price cameras. If you could live with the quality of the images, which at $39 isn't going to be great, I think the ease of use will make up for it. And I wish you luck, Eric. I think it sounds like a great project. Eric Noy, about.me/ERIKNEU if you want to know more. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Kim, you've got a blue screen of death.
I do. I have a blue screen of death. I went away for 9 days, came home and turned my computer on, and I've got a bad pool caller error message.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've been on the phone with Microsoft for several days and Dell, and we've tried to boot it, and just nothing is happening.
You know, it does feel like, because they make such a big deal about the error message, when you get the blue screen of death, the screen fills with data, doesn't it? And
right, it has a lot of information.
As if that data were in any way useful. It's not.
Right.
And as I'm sure that you've gathered this now by talking to Microsoft and everybody else, they don't really care what bad pool caller means. Something went wrong. But you knew that.
Right, they don't even know. You're right. They
don't know.
What does it say? And then I tell them. And
here's the problem. Computers are boxes of rocks animated by electricity. By the time something's gone wrong, they can't tell you what's wrong. So they tell you, they give you an error message, but it doesn't necessarily tell you anything about how it happened. It's just
right,
like,
what it is.
Or
they
what
don't
to
even know
fit. Right.
Software.
Right. Well, I can almost assure you, now here's the deal on blue screens of death.
Okay.
That's it's such a serious error the computer can't go on. And it usually means one of two things. Either a hardware error, the power supply failed, or maybe while you were gone there was a thunderstorm and something got fried, or it means a very low-level software error. Internet Explorer won't give you a blue screen of death. A video driver will. Something low-level, like a driver. Now, in your case, because you left the computer for 10 days, I'm thinking it's probably a hardware failure of some kind. I'm sure they walked you through things like booting up in safe mode and stuff like that, right?
Right, and we did diagnostics, and it said hardware pass.
Yeah, but those hardware diagnostics are pretty limited.
Right.
What happened when you went to the safe mode? Do you remember that, where they press F8 and then you go and it says boot up in safe mode? Was it able to...
We could never get there.
It never got there, okay.
Right, because as soon as we hit the fee, as soon as I hit the agree to the fee or agree to their license agreement, then it goes right back to bad pool caller. So we couldn't get into safe mode.
Yeah. And I presume that they ran through system restore and things like that.
Yeah, we couldn't get there either because it always goes back to bad pool caller.
Yeah. It does sound like you had a hardware failure. It could be when they're talking about bad pool caller, that they are talking about memory, so it could be a memory issue. But it's very difficult to know exactly. That's why I'm sorry to say you're gonna have to bring it into the shop or send it back to the manufacturer.
Well, it's an old Dell computer.
Yeah.
That I did not back up.
Yeah. Well, here's some good news. The data is probably still on the hard drive.
Oh, okay.
So that's why you bring it to a shop and you say, look, can you get the data off the hard drive? What they'll do is they'll take the hard drive out of there and they'll make a copy of it and you'll have everything.
Oh,
they may be able to quickly fix what's wrong. One of the things they would do, and certainly what I would do, is take a Linux disk, that's another operating system, on a CD and see if your system will start up with that. That's one way to find out if it's a hardware error, because if you won't get a blue screen because that's a Windows thing. But if it crashes with another operating system, then we know it's hardware, and I think it is, Kim. But if you bring it to a shop, they'll be able to take the drive out and get all your data off of it, and that's the most important thing right now. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Mike is in Chicago. Hello, Mike. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Great to talk to you. Thanks for helping me out today.
Thanks for calling.
Hey, I own an iMac running Lion at home, and I'm interested in taking all my data files, uploading them securely to the cloud, and then being able to access them when I'm outside of my office on my MacBook Pro or my iPad, and making changes, saving them directly, securely up to the cloud so that those changes are in effect when I come back to my computer. Is there an inexpensive way that I can do that where my files are secure?
There are so many ways to do this, Mike. I don't know where to begin. First of all, Apple is going to offer this on Lion any day now with iCloud. And that's exactly what iCloud will do, transparently, without any intervention on your part. So I'm not sure when iCloud will come out. I suspect, Tuesday Apple's got a big announcement. I suspect that the announcement will be, of course, a new iPhone, but going along with the iPhone, iOS 5 and iCloud. And I suspect that we will have iCloud within the next month. So...
those files would be secure?
Well, what do you mean by secure? That bad guys can't get to them or nobody can see them? I'm not sure what you mean by secure.
Yeah, I looked at the Dropbox option, and I was concerned about that they could release it.
Yeah, all right. Okay, this is a good point. So everybody offers, quote, encryption. The problem is if they have the key, if the company has the key, that means they can look at your stuff. Dropbox is a good example. They'll generate a key for you, but they have the copy. And there's a reason for that. If law enforcement comes to them and subpoenas them, they can give the law enforcement your data. And you may say, well, that's fine because law enforcement is not going to come after me. But it also means that a rogue employee could perhaps access the key and then get your data. I stopped using Dropbox because of that. I certainly don't use it for anything I want to keep secure. I do use a program called SpiderOak, which is fairly inexpensive. I pay $100 for 100 gigs of storage a year. And what SpiderOak does is it lets you encrypt it before it gets onto SpiderOak. So you and only you have the key. Now, you could do that with Dropbox, too, using a program like TrueCrypt, is encrypt your data before you upload it, what our friend Steve Gibson calls PI, pre-internet encryption. But SpiderOak does that for you. It generates the key, a strong key, locally, and they don't have access to it. So that's a case where you're absolutely safe. I suspect that Apple would do something similar.
So maybe I should just sit tight until it's...
yeah. Well, you could try. Look, you can try SpiderOak free. I think it's 2 gigs free. and at least see if you like it. It has the syncing features you suggested. So you can say, I want to sync this folder, and that folder will stay synchronized across all your machines and on the cloud, so it's always safe and available. And I do like that. I use so many computers that I use this just essentially so that my documents are available on all the computers I use, laptop, desktop, home, office. My data is always there, and that's very, very handy. There are other programs. SkyDrive from Microsoft is available for Mac and Windows. I think that's 5 gigabytes for free. But I suspect iCloud will be the right solution for everybody, and especially if everybody on Mac, especially if you use iOS. And you use Lion, it will just be transparent. It'll be automatic, and I presume that Apple will respect. For instance, if you use file vault encryption, it will respect that.
Okay. Well, I'll just sit tight and wait and see what happens with that.
Yeah, and if you want to try Spider Oak before that happens, you certainly can. It's free for the first couple of gigs. SkyDrive's 25 gigs. Is that no? But I don't know if that's what it is. That's great. There's other companies, too. I used Walla for a while, which is owned by the hard drive company LaCie, W-U-A-L-A. That has an interesting model because it does have pre-internet encryption, and you can get it for as much data as you want for free as long as you donate that amount of storage back to them. They're kind of a peer-to-peer net. I'm not sure what Box.net's encryption status is. This is another system. A lot of them say, as Box.net does, secure. What you want to find out before you trust it is, do I create the key or do you? Does the company create the key? If they do, then they have access to your data, plain and simple. Or do I create the key locally on my computer and use it to encrypt? So the fact that they have encryption doesn't answer that question. Anybody can say encryption. Yeah, it looks like, for instance, I'm looking at Box.net. They have data encryption on transfer. That's good. That means they use SSL. And then it says data is encrypted on servers using 256-bit AES. Sounds like they do the encryption. That means they have access to the data just as Dropbox does. So you're looking for something that will allow you to encrypt locally before you upload it. And I have to look at this more carefully to see where that encryption happens. I know Spider Oak does it. That's why I transferred over to him. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the call. Bob, also in Chicago. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Well, I'm hoping I want to be one of the first to congratulate you. I think you've accomplished a long-term goal.
Yes, I have. That's to be gainfully employed.
As of the moment, that's 2 of us.
I tell you, in this economy, having a job, good thing.
Yeah, but I'm watching the tech guy. I'm watching it right now on a Sony Google TV.
Oh, how do you like that?
The picture is unbelievable, and the audio is perfect.
Thank you. We use Ustream, which is one of our providers. We use Ustream, BitGravity, and Justin.tv. Ustream recently turned on a variable bitrate high-quality encode that if you have enough bandwidth, the player that you're using, and I presume you're using Ustreams, will use as much bandwidth as you can, up to a megabit and a half. That will give you good quality. Now, we are also investigating high-def streams. I just saw a test high-def stream, but that takes 3 megabits per second.
Ouch.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing, I'm watching you on Ustream. The quality, I'm comparing you to a top-of-the-line XPR Sony, is just a hair underneath it.
Pretty amazing what you can do. And, we're in a revolution. And I'm lucky enough to be, because I do tech, we're able to, because that means we have a tech-savvy audience. And we can use technologies as they come out, bleeding-edge technologies. We're able to really kind of push the envelope like this. And the other side of this, and I'm sure you've experienced this, Bob, is we also have far more failures than anybody else because we're trying stuff that's untried.
Not so far. Not on this.
Good.
Google.
I'm liking that. Thank you, Bob.
I'm just amazed, though. I press one button, I can go back to a 1080 broadcast on VHF or on regular TV, press 2 buttons and come back to the tech guy.
That's the future, which is that internet broadcast television is a peer with your cable TV and antenna broadcast. Hey, Bob, hang on. We're going to take a break. If you've got anything more to say, we'll get back to you in just a bit. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Bounce, 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 bounce.
I like that. I do bounce.
Bounce, bounce.
See, thank goodness it's radio. You can't see me bouncing. Leo
Keep that
Laporte,
chili down.
the tech guy. Kyle Benham on our music. Is this portion of the Tech Guy Show sponsored by anybody at all, Kyle? Anybody?
It is not.
Anybody at all? Nobody. Huh? Well,
By you, Leo.
It's sponsored by me. And bouncy balls. That's what I sit on. I sit on, that didn't come out right at all. I sit on an exercise ball. And I feel that keeps me limber and mobile during the show. I wouldn't want to slump. So we were talking to Bob. He's watching the show on the Sony Google TV. You know, Bob, it's funny. I have a Google TV. I have a Google TV for which I paid $300. They're now $99. And I decommissioned it. You know, it's still under the TV, but I disconnected it because I ran out of HDMI cables. I wanted to use something else. I was just a little frustrated with it. But you're saying with all the updates and everything, it's now worth a second look.
Well, now this is a regular TV. It's a 24-inch Sony TV.
Oh, with Google TV built in?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
There's a new electronics store out there called H.H. Gregg. Have you heard of them in California?
No, it's spell the Gregg part.
It's H-H-G-R-E-G-G.
I'm not familiar with them. hhgregg.com. Do they have storefronts? Or they
kind of are taking the place of Circuit City.
Well, thank goodness. We kind of needed somewhere to go.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of Best Buy.
Yeah. It looks like Best Buy, though. They sell appliances as well as, well, so did Circuit City, didn't they? As well as televisions.
But this is a 24-inch, which is the smallest of the three. I paid $300 for it.
That's great. Yeah, you know, small HD TVs, anything less than 40 inches now, are very affordable from a number of companies, Vizio, Westinghouse, Philips, and they look great. Now, when you tell me that, I realize that's one of the reasons that my flash video feed looks good. It's a small enough screen so that, you know, defects are kind of hidden. If you blew that up to 60 or 70 inches, it might not look quite as good as...
Yeah, we actually watched you on the 40-inch in the store, and everything was fine.
Hey, good news. That's great, Bob.
It's just absolutely amazing. There's a power cord and a coax going into the TV. That's it.
You know, there's a debate, and I even hold this debate in my own mind between, you know, let's face it, as I said as we were going into the break, it's wonderful when an internet television broadcaster, who are often aimed at smaller niches, has parity with CBS, ABC, HBO, and everybody else on satellite, cable, or broadcast. It means that you can see a channel like mine, which is dedicated to tech, and watch it easily. So that's the good news. The question is, how do you internet enable a TV? And you've chosen one way, which is to actually have the TV have all that capability built into it. The other way is to add a box, a Roku box, an Apple TV. Google TV has a standalone box, Boxy Box. There are many of these set-top boxes. And, in fact, more will be coming, I'm sure, from your cable provider. Blu-ray players often have these capabilities. And the reason I kind of like the external box is it's easy to swap in another one, to try a different style. You know, you're going to use what you got, which is that Sony Google TV. As long as it serves your purposes, I think that's great.
Yeah, I have my XBR Sony is an internet TV. I have the PlayStation. I got an iMac 27. And this little TV is my preference.
That's awesome. Well, Bob, I'm very grateful you called in and gave us that positive review.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. How do you get to it on your TV? Is there a menu entry, or how do you find us?
There's a search bar, and it has Chrome on it as well. There's a search bar, just TWiT Live, and... So
you're watching it through the website?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Well, thank you, Bob. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Thanks again.
All right. We're on other boxes. For instance, if you have a Roku box, I'm a big fan of Roku. I think they've done a great job of making inexpensive boxes you just attach to your TV set for as little as $60, you get similar capabilities. And we're on there as an application. The nice thing about the Google TV, you get a browser, you get a keyboard, and you can search and watch websites. But we're an application on the Roku. You could search for TWiT on the Roku box and watch us live there. But the advantage of that, you can also watch downloads there as well. So you can watch podcasts and stuff. The Tech Guy's on it. You don't have to watch a Tech Guy when I'm on the air. You can watch it later through the Roku box. Let's see. John in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You're next. Hi, John. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hi, Leo. Pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for calling in.
I really enjoy your show. Learned a lot. You're entertaining as well, so that's great.
Not many people bounce.
Yes,
that's all I can say.
Cell phone question.
Yes,
Smartphone specific.
Yes, sir.
My wife just got. She needed a new phone. We're with Verizon. She just got a Droid 3. Up until now, she's had for many, many phones always used the Microsoft Windows OS on her smartphones. She lives by her Outlook, calendar, contacts, email, etc. And it's just a business thing, and that's what it is. I was kind of frustrated with making things work in a recognizable way so it's easy. I set up on my laptop, just so I could try it, a Google Calendar, and that syncs with the laptop, and there's probably an app that'll allow her Google Calendar, when it's set up, to sync like almost not real time, but close to that.
It does. I mean, because you're using an Android phone, it's by Google. It's made to sync with Google Calendar. So you're absolutely right. If you change, and that's what I use. If I change something on my phone, it immediately changes on the Google Calendar online, and then propagates to all my machines because I use Google Calendar everywhere. So that's nice.
Great. Now, contacts.
Same thing.
I didn't readily see Google Contacts as such.
On the phone or on the web? Where are you looking for?
And as far as being able to, on her laptop, get her contacts synced with Google.
Right. So Google Contacts on the web is contacts.google.com, just as calendar is calendar.google.com, etc. If you go to contacts.google.com, you'll see your contacts. But the issue, of course, is just as it was with the calendar, how do we get the stuff into Google? And she's using Outlook on the desktop?
Yes.
I believe Google offers an Outlook sync tool that will sync both calendar entries and contact entries.
Okay, I'll getting them into as far as I'll figure out a way to import export them out of Outlook and import them into.
You shouldn't have to export because what you want. I understand is you want if she changes it in Outlook that it automatically changes everywhere, including her phone. So you want sync. You don't want export. Export is a one-time thing, right?
Okay.
Google has what they call Google App Sync, I think they call it, and it syncs with Active Sync. So that means contacts and calendar from Outlook will automatically sync. No, wait a minute. Now, this is for business. Let me see if they have a free one as well.
She's not running on Exchange server. She's using Outlook 2007.
Yeah, this would run on Windows.
Yes.
And just look the stuff up. There are third-party sync programs as well. There's one called Kigoo, Kigoo. Might work a little better. I would first look at Google and see if they've got something. Maybe, I guess it looks like they don't have a free one.
The Google Calendar information, they recommended, obviously they want you to use Google applications.
Yeah, I think that's how they do it for contacts is you have to subscribe to Google Apps and then they'll do it for you. So look at this Kigoo, Kigoo.
Okay.
And because what you want is she doesn't want to stop using Outlook. She wants to keep using Outlook.
Yes.
Yeah, so you want it all to synchronize up. And that will work just fine. I would recommend that. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. And surprise, 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 look who's here. All the way from Disneyland, it's Dickie D, the Gizwiz, our gadget guru, Mad Magazine's maddest writer. Hello, Dick DeBartolo.
Leo, how you doing?
I am wonderful. How are you today?
I'm super fine. Thank you very much.
Dick and I do a show we call the Weekly Daily Gizwiz. It is not spelled...
And you can call it what you want.
Yes, it's not spelled W-E-A-K-L-Y, by the way, although it could be. And we're about to do that, actually, right after the radio show ends. We'll do the Weekly Daily Gizwiz. But I like to get Dick on the show a little bit before the end to talk about a gadget or two. What do you got for us today?
Yeah, kind of a nifty little clock radio with a couple of neat features. It's from iLove, and it's their iPod iPhone AM/FM clock with bed shaker.
Wait a minute.
Now,
it shakes the bed?
You know what? It really doesn't. If you have a thick mattress, first of all, I tell you,
if you're on a cot, the bed will shake.
Yes, exactly. But I tell you what, they've altered the bed shaker so that you really want it under your pillow. But I like what they did. A lot of companies make bed shaker clocks. Not a lot of them make bed shaker clocks that will work with your iPhone and iPod. But what iLove did is the bed shaker also has a built-in speaker. So you slide this, it's a little bit
that I
of a
like.
hockey puck. Yeah, I do too. So you slide that under your pillow, and then you can go to bed with music playing just kind of through the pillow with the speaker portion of this. Then that same device in the morning becomes a vibrator. So you can wake up to your own tunes, with or without vibrator, or the built-in radio with or without the vibrator, or a regular buzzer. And the other thing that you'll like on it is clock radios usually have one dimness control, too bright or too dim. So this radio has 8 levels of brightness plus display off. And you and I have talked about how annoying it is with devices that look like an airplane cockpit when you're trying to sleep.
Yeah.
The other thing, this is inexpensive. At J&R Music, it's $52.
So it's the iLove, and it's ILUV.
It's ILUV, and this is the IMM 178 dual alarm clock. So you can set it up for 2 separate people.
Oh, okay. So that a couple could use this, or you could get up twice.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're one of those people, doesn't actually, I believe it or not, I do that fairly frequently. I'll set 2 alarms, one at 6:30 and one at 7:30, and then I know.
Well, at hotels I do that.
Yeah.
If I'm afraid,
if I'm still asleep by 7:30, I really should be getting up. Yeah. Our friend Colleen, Colleen, who's a former
my word,
chief engineer here. She wrote a alarm clock program for Android phones called Alarm Clock Extreme. It's actually very clever because Colleen had always had a hard time getting up. Her alarm, she tried like Clocky. We talked about that one. That's a clock that runs away from you so that you can't turn it off, literally. And she finally wrote this, and I thought it was very clever. You can set this. You don't have to do this. It's just a normal alarm clock for your phone, but you can set it so that the phone's GPS turns on when the alarm goes off, and until you're moving 20 miles an hour, it will not go off. So the idea being, not that you're throwing the phone, but the idea being that until you get the car and are on the way to work, that alarm clock's going to keep bugging you. Isn't that a great idea?
Yeah. So I have to walk to the subway and get the express, not the local.
Yeah. No, you can set the speed. You can set the speed. The problem is if you set it too low, it's a little tempting to throw the phone to see if that works. But you can say, I have to be traveling at 4 miles an hour for 15 minutes, but I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah. Well, remember propeller alarm clock? When the alarm went off, it shot a propeller in the air. And unless you could find a propeller and stick it back in the clock, propeller had a kooky kind of fitting on the bottom, and the screwdriver wouldn't work. I tried it. So you had to literally go find the propeller.
Go find the propeller. In my opinion, you should just go to bed earlier.
Oh.
Problem solved. No, he doesn't.
That's why they call it time flies.
Time flies. Dick DeBartolo is at Gizwiz.biz. That's a great place to go to see all the gadgets he talks about, not only in this show, but all the shows he does. But also, you could play his game, What the Heck Is It? And this is kind of fun. If you're a fan of Mad Magazine, this is a real treat. He has a weird-looking object, and if you can name it, he's got 12 autographed copies of Mad Magazine for people who name it correctly. You get 2 months, you know, the contest goes for 2 months. And 24 autographed copies for people who don't get it right but are clever with it. So everybody has a chance to win here, and I think it's just really a fun contest. Just go to gizwiz.biz. This one goes through the end of the month, yeah?
It's just the end of October, yeah.
Great,
yes.
great.
We are in National Adopt a Pet from a Shelter Month, by the way.
Well, I know that's a big cause of yours. Why don't you put in a little plug?
Yeah, well, you know what? For ABC News on Tuesday, I am their Guinness Book of Records is going to try and set a new record for parents and their adopted pets. So if you're near Central Park, you can bring your pet. You have to bring a document that your pet is adopted. Evidently, the record right now is 250 adopted pets and parents in one place. But they're going to have shelter animals looking for homes. And I'll be there with a film crew. So it's Central Park, Tuesday at 4 p.m. for National Adopt a Pet from a Pet Shelter Month.
Isn't that awesome? Thank you, Dickie D. Stick around. We'll
Thank
see you
you
in a moment for the weekly Daily Gizwiz. We're going to get our last couple of calls of the show on in just a moment. Costa Mesa, California. I'm sorry, they keep telling me it's Costa Mesa. Ed is on the line. Hi, Ed.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
Got a problem with my Apple iPhone.
Okay.
Whenever I download let me back up. I reset the phone because it was smoking through the battery. I'd have a fully charged battery, and it would burn through the battery in less than an hour. And so I called. I actually took it to the iPhone store over here in Costa Mesa, and they replaced it 5 times, the entire phone, a 3GS. I went in there for the 6th time. They replaced it with an iPhone 4 because they felt so sorry for me, all free of charge.
This is Apple's store, right? Apple's retail store.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they're good. I have to say they're very good about that.
Yeah, they really were.
And it still did that each time?
Each time. So I got, and nobody at the Genius Bar could tell me what was causing it. They just kept replacing the phone. So
well, we know it's not something wrong with the phone. It's some program you got on there.
Bingo. Now, what I did was I actually got frustrated and called the Apple service line. And one of the guys said, reset it as a new phone. Do not download any app.
Yeah, because it's some app that you've got running that's turning on the GPS or something and draining your battery.
Exactly. And I don't know how to identify it. I don't know how to isolate it.
Well,
one at a time over the course of 3 months.
Oh, man.
Like 45 apps.
There's a faster way to do it. What you do is you do half the apps, right? And if nothing goes wrong, oh, good news. If something goes wrong, then you know it's in that 22 and a half apps. And you divide in half and in half again, and you could have figured it out in just a few days. But, go ahead. Did you figure it out?
No, not yet. My wife is actually probably listening in the house at the radio, but we're going to Europe tomorrow. I don't have any apps on it, and I can't risk it right now because I've played that game. I downloaded half or just a few of the apps.
I have never seen any app do that, so you must have some oddball app on there. I would look for apps that use the radios in some weird way. That's going to be the problem. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great geek week.